Welcome to House Business, where we give business ideas on the house. I'm your host, Nicole.
And I'm your host, Marc.
And each week, we're going to present you with a business idea, discuss some of the considerations needed. We're going to have lots of debates. Some of the ideas will be good, some will be bad. But at the end, these are your business ideas that you can have.
And this week, I'm presenting. And the quick little teaser that I got for you today is cheap vibes.
This right here feel like money. This right here feel like money. Ooh. Money moves. Ooh. Money moves. Ooh. This right here feel like money. This right here feel like money. Ooh.
I guess, how are you? I guess we could start there.
I'm good. I'm like, now I can't think of anything other than cheap vibes, but
yeah,
that's good.
I knew that would like entice you, but
Well, you know, I just live for the word vibe. So I'm like, ooh, a vibe. What are we
that
going
was
with?
done. That was done intentionally. That was thought of intentionally for sure.
I love it.
What's going on in your life? We'll start there.
Well, just kind of busy going through it. I feel like tomorrow I'm traveling. So I'm going to Detroit tomorrow. Yep. Got back from Chicago last weekend. Now I'm going to Detroit for a night. And so early morning, going to be rapid day, but should be fun. Going to a Tigers game and doing some work stuff. So yeah.
What
about you?
Do anything fun while you were in the city?
Yeah, when I was in Chicago, we went to Demi Lovato, saw her at the United Center, and she was pretty fire. So I was excited. She did not disappoint.
Good.
Did not disappoint. I know.
You hate to be disappointed at a big arena show. So
yeah, and it's a lot going into it. It actually was pretty smooth getting in and out of the United Center. Sometimes you never know what you're going to deal with.
Yeah,
and Ubers, travel, all of that. Like it was kind of the perfect night. So it was good.
Right on. So
I have a question for you, actually. So I was wondering, I wanted you to tell the listeners maybe, how often do you think you and I talk or communicate? Like just out of the blue, like how frequently?
How often? Maybe like every other day, probably?
Like almost, I'd say, depending on the season. This season daily, but a lot of times like multiple times a week. I am going somewhere with this.
Yeah.
Multiple times a week. So imagine like my surprise. So when you're asking about my weekend, on Sunday, I maybe had like the laziest day I've had in 2026. And around noon, I got a text from you that you finished a marathon.
Yeah.
I didn't even know you were running.
Yeah, I didn't really tell you. I see where you were going with that. I don't know. I didn't really mention it. I just I've been training in the background and I gave it a shot. It was the hardest thing I've ever done.
I'm sure.
And the picture I sent you guys was like,
it was awesome.
I was dead. I mean, I was running for like 6 hours. It was crazy. But yeah, it was a cool experience though, to kind of push yourself. So it was really a personal challenge. I love
it. Where was it at?
It was in Schaumburg, if you know where that is. It's like a little suburb in between, the burbs and downtown Chicago. So it's just kind of like running through the woods for like hours.
Like 6. How long did you say? 6 hours?
Yeah,
how long
which
does
is bad. Which is
okay.
not a great time, by the way.
I mean, I think the thing is that you did it though, which is pretty impressive. What was was the weather kind of crazy?
It was perfect. Weather was perfect.
Okay.
I couldn't have asked for anything better. It was like 60 degrees, I think, and like between like 50 and 60. So it was like perfect.
That's pretty awesome.
So it was nice. I'm definitely still recovering though. That was only 2 days ago. So
I just loved it because I'm pretty sure I sent you a message at like midnight when I was out Saturday night. And then 12 hours later, when you sent me back that you finished a marathon, I was like, what is he doing? So I was pretty surprised. I think I maybe did have a recollection from like 6 months ago that you were thinking of doing this, but that's pretty awesome. Good bucket list.
Yeah, that one I just kind of kept off your radar and I just...
Yeah, love it. It's great. So do you have any other marathons or anything else coming up?
Oh, no.
Anything else you want to tell us about or tell me about that I don't know?
That was the big thing I did over since I probably last talked to you. I'm going to Ireland pretty soon and I'm excited about that. But that's about it. I don't think everything else is pretty low key.
Pretty casual. Marathons, Europe,
just
casual.
things that happen. Just things that happen.
So these vibes. So I need to know more about the vibes.
Okay. I definitely told you this years ago.
Okay.
So tell me if you remember this or not.
Okay.
But I had this, I remember having this idea when I was knocking around with some friends years ago, based on just kind of a need of people living in the city. One of the issues that came up a lot was, what do you do after work? Okay. Like, it's a very obvious, you probably go to happy hour. That's the thing, right?
Right.
And what's one of the problems that comes up when you were thinking about where to go for happy hour? Because you never really know what each place is doing. So the original idea was figuring out a way to scan local websites to bring the most recent and updated, things
Happy
that you
hour
get.
specials,
Exactly. So that was the original idea.
Okay.
And as I did a little bit of research, because I was really excited about this, and I was like, I hadn't looked it up in quite some time, but I remember thinking about how you would do it and how you'd create it to an app, and could you get AI to program, could you figure out a way to have it scan websites, which is apparently much harder than I thought it was going to be. I thought it'd be pretty straightforward. It's not. Apparently it's a little bit more involved. So my big thinking for what I wanted, and I think about this more in sort of metropolitan areas like, downtown Chicago and New York, where there's so much accessibility rather than out in the kind of suburbs. In the city, there's always so much going on that sometimes you don't even know what you're walking into, right?
Yep.
So my kind of addendum to the original idea, which is what I'm presenting today, is if you want cheap vibes, your AI is going to find it for you.
Yeah.
That's my one sentence pitch tagline. So basically being able to customize an AI or an app that can understand what you want and don't want, and then compare that to updated local listings of happy hour specials.
Okay.
So that's my pitch for cheap vibes. And, comparing to what's on the market on there, I expected there to be a lot more, and there was some things out there, but that's my big pitch for today. Cheap vibes.
I like it. I like this idea. And I do remember you talking about this idea a few years ago. I feel like we've connected on it. I also, when you brought it up a few years ago, was very surprised that there's not more out there. And I think, to be honest, that sparked a lot of the creation, a lot of the stuff I do with House of Heidi in a different way, not obviously using AI, but I do keep that in the back of my mind in a in a smaller town.
Totally.
Not as big as like a Chicago over New York. But I do think there's a lot there. So I think we need to break this down a little bit. So when you said the AI pulling from websites, I think, what do you think is like the biggest challenge? Like, I have one in my mind, but I think what did you kind of run into, or what are you thinking there?
I'll just come out and say I'm not a tech expert, an AI expert. Or programming expert, but I do have quite a few friends kind of in the field. And at the time, my roommate, he was a computer programmer. So I asked him, I was like, how would you do this? And he started to describe kind of what, website scrubbing is, which I kind of thought you just kind of prompt it and it kind of goes there and pulls it, but it's a little bit more in depth than that. So the technical limitations of that are the first concern, I think. And then, I guess to a minor extent, are these places, do they regularly update the specials? Where else are you going to get the information from? Those are some other questions that come to mind.
Yeah, I think for me, the biggest challenge, I guess, or pushback is I think it comes down to the bar owners. And I think you have to be a pretty savvy bar owner to be updating like a website all the time. Yeah. One thing that I've found in trying to see where happy hours are or trying to kind of plan different events is it's been shocking to me in the last year. Like, the bar owners do not know what they're doing until like the day of or maybe a week before. And so I think that's a hurdle,
Sure.
But I do think like that is room for growth and room for, the savvy bartenders to plug into, because, from my vantage point or what I see in trying to plan events through House of Heidi in a non-AI platform is there's so much money being left on the table that these bar owners could literally take advantage of by, maybe hiring someone in marketing or someone very basic to be updating these websites and using these tools. So I don't know if you have thoughts on any of that.
The savvy bartender is a tough one to get around, I think.
Right.
That's a very good point. And I honestly didn't really think of that. I sort of, in thinking around the kind of boundaries of this idea, I thought, if you're taking a place like Chicago, or New York, where there's a lot of competition for happy hour attraction. You want to bring people in a happy hour. That's why you have the happy hour. But you're also competing with everybody else within a 4-mile radius that wants the same thing. I would have assumed that it's in their best interest to have it updated.
I agree. You know what I mean? And I think that's what's shocking for me, you know, and again, I'm not in the city of Chicago. Dubuque is a town roughly of 68,000 to 70,000 people, you know, but per capita, we do have a lot of bars that are fighting for that competition or that market. And really, you know, it's left to the bar owner to be putting a lot of this stuff on Facebook. How could you, let's think of Cheap Vibes. That's what you called it, correct? Cheap Vibes.
Yes.
So let's say, okay, you're Cheap Vibes now. You have the AI platform. Maybe part of it is making it easy for the bar owner to even like scan a QR code or scan something so simple. You know, obviously, if you're owning Cheap Vibes or you're creating this platform, you can't be going out to all these places all the time. Like, that's not the point. As you said, the point is the tech and the AI. But maybe the startup is going to these bars, getting some buy-in, and the more buy-in you get, you know, there's competition. So you're going to be competing with the bar next door. And if I can go and just easily like scan a QR code or something very simple into a platform or website that this could pull from, maybe that's part of it as well. And that's like way into the weeds. So I'm not sure your thoughts.
This is great. Again, you are the vibe curator. So I just knew it would vibe, but
I'm like, I love it. I'm like, how do I do this?
Vibe is the word of the day. I don't know if this helps, but I did a comparison, right? Because when I started looking this up, I remember years ago not seeing that at all.
Yeah.
And now I saw one that was kind of close to the idea and accessible in multiple places, but it didn't seem customizable. That was my biggest qualm with it, and the biggest thing that I think people would interact with more. You know, like, this is my vibe. I like cheap dive bar specials. You know, like that's why I said Cheap Vibes earlier, is because I'm just thinking about kind of like what I would want with my friends, like something cheap and easy, right? But I was trying to think about it in other contexts. What other contexts make sense? And I thought, what do people use all the time? Grocery stores. You always need to go to the grocery store. So I thought maybe you could design something that compares different deals from local stores. Now, when I looked that up, there was tons. I mean, there was
really
tons of apps on that. Yes. And
so like, I want to stop for a second. Like, you're saying like comparing, if I want to go get like bananas, it's like telling me which store. Wow. Okay.
Yes, exactly. And there's a lot with lots of reviews. And so these seem very widely used. I mean, I'd never heard of them, but you know, that was the idea.
We need to get on these. Yeah. Okay.
I know. I was like, this totally works.
This is good.
But then I thought, like, just to pull it back to what we were talking about before, I thought about where are these pulling the information from, and the stores are going to have the sales a lot more readily accessible because everything's cataloged all the time. So they always know what their specials are going to be because they're trying to get it out the door. So it's very easy for somebody to have created an AI, let's just say AI scrubber for lack of a better term, to pull and compare from Walmart and Target and, you know, the Whole Foods that are nearby, and compare those because they have to be updated because their whole profit margin is inventory based. So I'm just comparing it to like the lack of savvy bartender that we're talking about. And maybe this is where the difficulty of why this doesn't, you know, show up everywhere, because I'm sure if we looked into that app, for example, longer than I did, we'd find issues of people not really updating it and going, oh, actually, they don't have this on Mondays anymore. You know?
Yep.
I came for the wings and they don't have wings.
Right. The wings
just
are
as
gone.
An example.
I guess 2 points. I want to walk back. I think like savvy bartender is one. The other thing too is I think bars, the margins are just so tough to beat sometimes. Like, unless you're really slinging high-end cocktails, you got to sell a lot of beers to be paying staff, paying for cleaning products, just all the stuff. So also, bartenders out there that are listening to this know that we clearly love and respect coming to the bar, and you can be savvy as well, but we know you're overworked, so we also get that. But 2, I'm like, I just had to put a disclaimer out. I love my bartenders and bar owners. But 2, I love like the customizable feature that you're talking about, because I think that is huge. Also, that when you're looking for where you want to go, you know, the dive bar feature is great. Or if you know, I have a lot of different people that will reach out to me. Right now, the thing everyone's asking, or we talk a lot about, is where the best dirty martini in town is. And so not only is it like deals, but you could also have a ranking of these happy hours. the specials, the prices, but I think you have something there with being able to customize also what you're looking for. And if you're a bar, really fitting into that niche market you're trying to hit as well.
Well, and you could also, right alongside that, you could get into promotions. Let's say it's in the bar's best interest to say, oh, people are using this app, for this imaginary app, and they're noticing that they really like our Martini Wednesdays. I don't know,
Yep.
So maybe I want to promote Martini Wednesdays because, like you said, I want volume at this point. I'm doing happy hours so that they come in and buy other things. So I want volume of people, right? So, you could get into promotions right there.
Again, I kind of still go back to I think it's like a basic, maybe a one-time done, what's your inventory happy, I say inventory, but like a happy hour.
Yeah.
You somehow need to get that data scannable, inventoried, like the grocery store that you're talking about. I'm like, how do you mesh these, I guess?
What is going to be updated? Let's start. Let's back it up for 2 seconds. What do they update quite often? Kind of a rhetorical question. You don't have to answer that, but I'm thinking of a place that has, QR scannable menus.
Yep.
Okay. So that is always updated, or they have happy hour menus specifically, right? That you QR code and you hop in there. So I've seen a lot of restaurants that do that, where that's basically an online updated inventory, if we're going to keep talking about inventory, but that's your online menu right there. That's all you have to key it into, scan and teach it to understand so that you can have it updated.
You have such a good point there. I feel like I completely forgot about the rise of QR menus. And I feel like during COVID 2021, 22, they were huge. I mean, they're still huge in a lot of bars, but I do think there's been somewhat of a movement back to some paper stuff. But I do agree with what you're saying. The technology is already there. Everyone already got used to using it. I think at a lot of places too, even the scanning of a QR code, even to order your items, I think you're right. It is already there. So how can you combine those technologies? And maybe the first market is if you're a big, you think of a city restaurant owner, like you have in Chicago, like your Let Us Entertain You or your Tao, or shout out to all of you that you can sponsor this podcast and hey, we'll come to all of your places and drink and eat. But, if you think of even some of the bigger chains, what a way to tap into this and have even just your restaurants kind of top of that list for those happy hours too.
Yeah. Just another thought that you kind of you prompted of me is that you could have some kind of community engagement type of rating system. I tried this happy hour specifically, and this and this were fantastic. Let's say I'm new to town or I'm visiting or something like that, and I just happen to be there. That's definitely something that I know I would want, and very specifically to the vibes that I'm looking for. So
I agree. I'm trying not to laugh because I'm just thinking of this is the worst happy hour I've ever been to. Horrible rankings. But I do think that again is already something that people are used to doing and looking for, and it'd be right there and easy to do. So what if, there was a way that as a bar goer, so Marc, you and a group of friends, what if there was a happy hour or a bar neighborhood one that you liked enough? What are your thoughts on if you could go and somehow rally the support of the bar, or even get the bar online? I think of even an example being Instagram with locations. If a new place opens up, the location usually doesn't pop in to the location finder. I don't know what the name for that is right away. Yeah. But if enough people are going or similar on Google, you're kind of able to get it to add to that technology. And so maybe there's a way for the consumer or the bar goer to enter into the platform, the happy hour, and to kind of even help manage that in a way. Yeah.
Okay. So I guess I have two initial thoughts to that. And the first one would be, what a great way to support your local bar. My friends and I have been going there for years, and we don't really like to go to other bars. I know lots of people are regulars at local bars. So I think it's a great idea. It's a great idea to support your local business. My reservation is if you ask too much of the bartenders, or I'm sorry, the bar owners, we might not be understanding the financial risks that go into running the various things at the bar that we as the consumer do not see. So I think more to my idea for the app is kind of using what's already existing. I say that with a huge asterisk of,
right,
if a bar is game, they might just come back and say, you know what, if we've got enough interest in this, we should totally, we should have half price wings that day, or we should have espresso martinis on Fridays, which we haven't had in the past, but apparently there's an interest. So we should start buying that. So,
okay, let's recap. So for this idea, I guess if you wanted to take this idea, what are like the top things you'd have to look into that we kind of discussed?
Yeah, I think maybe first thing would be to talk to local bar owners and see if this is something that they would be willing to sign on to. That would probably be the easiest way to integrate. And then I guess the second part of that would be the technology side. Are you able to kind of build a functioning AI, researcher that can, I keep saying AI, but it's really any programming that would do that. So do you have the technological skills, or can you hire someone that would be able to figure out how to do that? So those would be the engineering side, and then the kind of the in-person business side would be the two big considerations that I would have.
I think the biggest point you're making is this needs to be automated, and it needs to kind of run on its own. Otherwise, there's just way too much work going into this. But I think a third item I would add is, along with working with the bar owners, is kind of the marketing of the app. Is, as you said, Marc, like, this is a great concept, but how do you kind of change the way people go to happy hour and get them using the app? I think it would be very easy to do and to market, if you had enough bars on there at least to get started. But
totally.
I think I really like this idea. I liked this from the start, and I like the changes with the customization and ways to enhance it. So,
okay, I'm going to end on a question. What would your customizable go-to search be for your happy hour vibe?
For a happy hour vibe?
Yeah.
It kind of always, it can depend on the season and the day of the week, as we know. But I think like the most common things for happy hour I'm usually looking for, I would be really interested in like an espresso martini, because I think that's usually, type of a first cocktail order oftentimes after work. And not every bar can make them well. So it's like that would maybe be the rating system. And, I don't want to spend a ton of money on one either. So that would probably be, I think for me, where I'm always like, where are these even in town, and who can make them?
Yeah.
And make them at a good price. But what would yours be?
Well, you'd go for the drinks. I think I'm getting pulled in for the cheap food. So I would go the cheapest but best burger. That's what I would go for.
Okay. That's good happy hour special too. But
yeah. That or wings, or, whatever.
Wings,
so
no, it'd be like, which drink do I want on this day at this time?
Yeah.
Definitely not the food.
I'd go for the cheapest. The one, if they have a $1 burger, I'm going for a $1 burger.
So it's like the perfect pairing. So again, if you're listening to this, great idea. 2 different types of ways that you could market this idea.
Yeah. We'll see you at happy hour. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back on House Business.
Hey, now feels like a great time to mention that this podcast is produced by My4 Creative.
Couldn't think of a better time than now.
They work with businesses and organizations on all their video marketing needs, and they make it a super simple process.
I hear they're doing podcasts now. Is that true?
It is. New this year, they are offering podcast production, which is super exciting.
And believe me when I say, they make you look and sound your absolute best.
We look awesome. Learn more at my4creative.com. My4 Creative, video production simplified. Now, back to business.
Okay, Nicole, we have been getting some feedback on your idea from last week, which, as just as your tagline, it was the straightener idea in the women's restroom. Did you want to give like a 1-sentence kind of lead back in, and then we'll hit some feedback?
Yeah. So the idea that I presented was the concept of a pay-as-you-go straightener in a women's bathroom. And I initially presented this idea in, college bar towns, and we also talked about it at event centers and airports. But one thing that many women felt we missed was the idea of weddings. And so I think weddings, this was pointed out as women feeling like a wedding is maybe the top place that they always are trying to touch up. The weather is unpredictable. And I still think it fits a little bit into that convention arena, which makes that argument even stronger. But weddings was brought up by a few different women, and I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, that weddings makes, kind of a lot of sense. It's sort of where convenience meets almost emergency.
I got one great story actually from a woman that listened to the pod, and she shared that she was at a wedding one time where it was so hot out in Iowa, Midwest heat, that they were doing just anything to fix their hair. Like they were all kind of sharing hair ties, sharing products that they had. She shared as far as like they were using lemons in the bathroom as deodorant. I've never seen that myself. Whoa. But she said it was pretty brutal, and they would have done anything for a straightener in the wall at that convention center. So
wow,
there you go.
Sounds like dire.
I think so. Like, I don't think all weddings are that dire, but again, it was pointed out by a few different people, and I think it is a good thing to consider if you were into that episode.
Yeah, definitely. We did get another kind of big piece of feedback that we found, that you and I found interesting.
Yep.
And that was kind of the liability aspect. One of the components that you brought up with this idea was, kind of where did you see it? And you saw this in Ibiza, and kind of the big central kind of pivot here was bringing it to the U.S. Now, the kind of piece of feedback that we got was, who's the liability on? And, is it going to be on the bar owner? Is it going to be on if you were to put these in the bar, how do you waive liability? Do you make people sign waivers? Things like that.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting feedback. And I, as you say, liability, I'm curious, like what I think the argument being that the U.S. restrictions and regulations are much stricter than the U.K. But, what that might even look like for bar insurance. I can't imagine it would add much to that as a liability, but you never know. And I thought that was a really great point, that when that was pointed out to you and I, we were both kind of like, oh, okay, that was a miss. That was good. So
yeah, like how did we miss that one? But
yeah, different countries. I think things to think through that way. So I really enjoy the feedback, though. So again, we're going to always be touching on different feedback we have from each episode. Make sure that you're commenting or letting us know if we still miss something else with the straightener concept in the bathroom. Thank you all for being here. We appreciate everybody that's listened to the podcast this far. We are going to have an episode each week with House Business, and you can find us on YouTube and Spotify. Also on our Instagram account, House Business, which, Marc, I did check today, and people are going to be really surprised that you're a part of it. And I think maybe
should probably
follow the page.
I probably should.
Too.
Yeah, I should probably do that. By next episode, I promise to have done that.
So if you can still beat Marc as a follower of our podcast,
come on, now it's a challenge.
Instagram House Business Challenge. Let's get that to 100 before Marc. Just kidding. Marc's going to follow us soon. But again, we're really excited to get these episodes on Spotify, YouTube. So make sure you're sharing them with your family, your friends, or just anybody you know that loves crazy business ideas, crazy off the wall concepts.
And
hope you share it.
Share with anybody that wants to make $1 million.
This right here feel like money. This right here feel like money. Ooh. Money moves. Ooh. Money moves. Ooh. This right here feel like money.